Joe Kent. Can somebody explain what happened to Joe Kent? I got evidence of him saying something completely different in 2024, had a completely different perspective in his confirmation hearing, and all of a sudden, he's changed. Tell me why.
A moment ago, sources are saying that Joe Kent, the former director of the United States National Counterterror Center, this is from Semaphore, he just resigned. He's now under FBI investigation for allegedly leaking classified information. And the investigation predates his departure.
I think it's invaluable that we continue to talk about this, because I think that people who are traitors to this country or do things that are nefarious, that are liars, we need to expose them very clearly. Joe Kent is in my opinion, is very suspicious why he decided to do what he did. Wait till you see what he used to say, how he used to speak. And this is not decades ago. This is like last year. This is like 2 years ago. This is like at his confirmation hearing. How do you get all these years of you saying Iran is a threat, Iran is a threat, Iran is a threat, Iran is a threat, and then all of a sudden you say Iran is not an imminent threat to this country? Don't listen to me. Listen to him. Wrote a clip.
They're still registering for the draft, aren't they? Like that's the logical conclusion to the direction that we're heading in right now, unless we make some serious changes.
I mean, I've already heard rumors that Fifth Group is going to be sending guys to Iraq because of the escalated situation with Iran now.
Yeah. I mean, most Americans aren't aware of it. Our troops in Iraq and Syria have been attacked 150 plus times by Iranian proxies. And when we say Iranian proxies, we got to be clear on what that is. That's the Iraqi government that we pay. Because after the Iraqi military, we spent $2 trillion on, surrendered to ISIS, we had to go back in there in very short order and stand the military back up again. And guess who filled the breach? The Shia militias controlled by Iran did. And the Iraqi government's controlled by Iran. So these are
He must have went to the Leering Center. He just said on Sean Ryan's show before he came out and said what he said, explaining how we got attacked by Iran over 150 times. How Iran is using their proxies to execute a war against other people in the region, especially American citizens. But they're not a threat to America. Have you looked at your credit card statement lately? You're working 40 to 50 hours a week just to buy groceries and gas, things you used to be able to afford, and the credit card companies are charging you over 20% interest for the privilege. Think about that. Over 20% is designed to keep you underwater. American Finances is doing something that credit card companies hate. American Finance is actually helping people. They have mortgage rates that are in the 5s. They're showing homeowners how to take their hard-earned equity to wipe out the high-interest debt. The average savings is $800 a month. Talk to a salary-based mortgage consultant, no upfront fees, no obligations, to see how much you can save. And if you start today, you can delay 2 mortgage payments. Give American Financing a call. America's home for home loans. 866-889-8010. That's 866-889-8010 or AmericanFinancing.net/Tatum. Okay, listen to what he said on this interview. Roll it.
Since the Iranian Revolution in 1979, when radical jihadis essentially took over the government of Iran and they declared war basically on the West.
I want y'all to be very clear. Listen to what he said. Since 19-something. Wrote a clip back. Listen to what he said. This is how long Iran has been a threat to America. Mentioned by Joe Kent. Roll it.
Since the Iranian Revolution in 1979, when radical jihadis essentially took over the government of Iran and they declared war basically on the West, but they also declared war on the vast majority of the Sunni Gulf states. And so what Kushner and what the Trump administration did was they came in and they said, look, you guys actually have a common enemy. Iran is an existential threat to both Israel. It's an existential threat to the oil-producing Arab Gulf countries. And so that was the genesis of the Abraham Accords. So what they did was they basically said the obvious. No one's going to solve this. At least an outsider, a Westerner, is not going to be able to come in here and say, hey, here's the grandiose solution between the Arabs and between the Palestinians and between the Israelis. Let's isolate that as much as we possibly can, and let's create a pragmatic alliance. And that's what led to a lot of the peace and prosperity that we had in the Middle East. Now, again, here comes Joe Biden. Biden comes into office, and he does, I think, two things. He brings back in a lot of folks from the Obama administration who had bet their careers in foreign policy on reaching out to Iran. That was Obama's famous thing. If you extend your hand, if you unclench your fist, we'll extend our hand. And we did that. We entered the Iran deal. We gave the Iran access to billions and billions of dollars. And what did Iran do? They funded their proxies throughout the entire Middle East. We had already seen this movie before. Biden comes in and does the exact same thing. He brings back Blinken and Sullivan and the rest of the Iran deal guys. He says, we're going to reach back out. Trump got Iran all wrong. Iran had been pretty quiet for quite a while under President Trump. But then Biden comes in. They unfreeze a ton of money, billions of dollars going to Iran immediately. Iran does what Iran does. They immediately start funding all of their proxies throughout the entire Middle East, many of whom that we're paying for as well, through the government of Iraq, through the governments of Qatar, those types of things. But the Iranians are very smart. And they said, hey, how can we upend the Abraham Accords? Because the Abraham Accords was an existential threat to Iran. It was an alliance that was created that really checked Iran. So they knew they needed to light the Israel-Palestine issue back on fire. And so they gave Hamas a bunch of aid, and then they had Hamas conduct a very brutal and very public attack. The way that Hamas immediately put that brutal attack of October 7th all over the internet as brutally as possible, I think they had a lot of professional advice from the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, their special operations guys, in order to get a response from Israel. And then Israel did what they had to do. They had to go in and defend themselves. And now they're going scorched earth on Gaza. And quite frankly, a lot of people in America are not comfortable with that. A lot of Democrats aren't comfortable with that. And we can critique them here from America, where for now it's nice and safe. But they're doing what I think any rational actor would do that's faced with a threat like that. But at the same time, they are playing right into Iran's hands by putting this issue back front and center. And so now.
All right, I think y'all heard enough. I think y'all requested, at least that's what Nick said, that you let me play the whole clip through. You don't want me to stop the clip too prematurely. But did you listen to what he said? He hit 2 or 3 issues there. Explained very thoroughly in April of 2024 why Iran is an existential threat to the United States of America. How they're paying their proxies to commit a war that they paid or at least supported and gave money to Hamas that led to October the 7th, that they were at least wanting to fight back and undercut the Abrahamic Accords. How are they not a threat to the United States of America? How? And we already know that they have proxies and other sleeper cells right here in America. And they're not going to deploy those? As if we don't have nothing to do with the Abrahamic Accords. As if we're not Israel's best ally. So they just want to do stuff to them, but not us. I can't believe this guy did that. It's so whack to me. Let's see. Caroline Levitt has something to say. Roll it.
Caroline, there was news yesterday when Joe Kent, who works for Tulsi Gabbard over at the DNI, a political appointee, said he could no longer stay in his job. He was resigning over the Iran war. So he had objections. When is the last time he saw President Trump?
It's been a while. It's been a while since the president has seen him here at the White House. It's been a while since he's been involved in the process of the presidential daily briefs, and he's been actually present for the president's intelligence briefings. This was an individual who was not involved in any of the discussions pre-operation and throughout this operation. I think the president views it as deeply unfortunate that this individual, who the president gave the privilege of working for the administration, put out this resignation on government letterhead with many falsehoods throughout, essentially accusing the president of being manipulated by foreign governments. That's laughable and it's insulting. President Trump has been remarkably consistent on this issue of Iran for many, many years. Long before he ever entered politics, he has always said Iran can never possess a nuclear weapon. So anyone who works here should be well aware of the president's intentions and his peace through strength agenda and his willingness to use the United States military to achieve peace if and when necessary, as we have seen throughout Operation Epic Fury.
All right, I want to get to Dan Bongino because I think Dan Bongino had an interesting take on it. The CIA director and also J.D. Vance mentioned something about it, but I think that Dan Bongino's mention of this is probably a little more powerful, and I want to cut this segment short so we're not belaboring the point. So let me get to Dan Bongino because I think his statement was on point. Roll it.
Dan, now we've seen this before. right? And it's usually people who are really have gone hard left on everything. George Conway, Liz Cheney, John Bolton, John Kasich. The list goes on and on. You turn on Donald Trump, and they embrace you for a time.
Yeah, this is the whose ox is gored effect. I mean, I've seen it with me during, my tenure in the administration, where they'll pick some right-wing radio host or podcaster they hate, who they call the conspiracy theorist or a nut job. And the minute he says something against someone they hate, Donald Trump or, in my case, me, they'll be like, respected voice in the conservative movement. They do this all the time. You're going to see this with Joe Kent in the coming days. Listen, Joe's decorated history of service is beyond reproach, and his sacrifice with his family is just unspeakable. I don't even like to think about
his wife, who passed,
however,
who was killed.
Yeah, I mean, her name is emblazoned on a plaque in a facility I can't really talk about. And when you read the story there, it's a tough story to read. But, again, as I've said with other, the sacrifice is beyond reproach. That doesn't mean that this current opinion is any more fact-based, because it's not. I'm really sorry, Laura. I mean, I read probably a lot more intelligence than he did, because they don't have a law enforcement function, the National Counterterrorism Center. They're an analytical clearinghouse. They're valuable. However, I had access to just about everything. And how you could come to the conclusion that the Israelis did it and there was no imminent threat here? Really? What about the anti-ship ballistic missiles, the drone program, 440 kilograms of 60% enriched nuclear material, their constant death to America chance? I mean, that's called evidence.
So do y'all get what I'm saying here? I'm not biased towards this guy. Like, people will say, you bought and paid for by Iran. Israel. That's why you say. It's just common sense. When you see a person go radical like that and say, I'm quitting, like I want to call him a wussy with a P. When he say, I'm quitting, that's weird to me. Because if you really care about the country, you should stay and fight. You don't punk out because your troops can't punk out. Dude, you served. I think he was a Green Beret. You may not agree with everything the command is doing, but you don't leave your battle buddies out there to dry. You stay in the fight and you keep fighting for them. You're a person on the inside. You're a person that can talk to Donald Trump. But this is this weird thing going on where it is lucrative to hate Trump now. It's lucrative to hate Israel. It's lucrative to bash Erica Kirk. I'm just going to give you a quick example before we move on to the approval rating that Donald Trump has, which also contradicts what Joe Kent did. But I made a video about Erica Kirk, defending Erica Kirk, but I said, let me just put it out there with a question mark and just allude to it's getting worse for Erica Kirk. It's gone really bad. This is bad. This new release tells everything. We got the highest click-through rate ever on our channel. Why is that? This should tell you guys why there are those who you're questioning. Why would they switch on Trump? Why are they bashing Erica so much? Why are they coming after Israel? Because the algorithm pushes content that supports those things. And as a content creator myself, you got to fight through the temptation to want to be salacious and jump ship. And you got to stick to your guns and what you believe and what is true and what is right. But I see them all the time. You hate Israel. You hate Erica Kirk now. You hate Donald Trump now. MAGA's dead. You get pushed in the algorithm and you make millions of dollars. That's pretty much what it is. Anyway, let's get to CNN polling, because I want you guys to see the polling, which contradicts Joe and all the other stew heads that are on the right. I don't care about the left. On the right. Roll the clip.
Okay, MAGA GOP on the U.S. military action in Iran. Look at this. Nearly 9 in 10, 89% approve of the U.S. military action in Iran. That is the MAGA GOP base. Just 9% disapprove of it. This is tremendously popular among the Republican base. And of course, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, overseeing the effort. It seems to me that a lot of people are taking that into account, including President Donald Trump, who has been smiling an awful lot at Marco Rubio lately.
There's another clip here, less important, but it's still a clip. Roll it.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you look at the polling data and there are numbers that just jump off the screen at you, and this is one of those. Because just take a look here. MAGA GOP view of Trump. Approve 100%. 100%. If you are a member of MAGA and the GOP, you approve of Donald John Trump. 0% say that they disapprove. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know you can't go higher than 100%. He is the 1972 Miami Dolphins.
Now, let me add this to you because I like to give you guys context. I wouldn't take everything they say I take it with a grain of salt. I feel like they do that program to get Republicans to look at their stuff and then get all excited so they can do something on the back end. That's just my opinion. It's still CNN. Don't get it twisted, all right? A snake is still a snake. But I think what it really does show you is the difference between the internet and real life. I think the everyday person like you and I, outside of the internet, that's smart enough to understand that Donald Trump is not George Bush, and it's not Barack Obama or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. We understand that. We see the way the war is being executed. We're listening to Donald Trump and the experts there, and we're not stupid enough to fall for this little weird stuff that some of these people are doing. I don't know if they're getting paid to do it. I don't know what they're doing. Marjorie Taylor Greene, what a quitter. She quit on her assignment.